Alright, so this game came out recently, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who wanted to try 1.0, but quickly got into it and realized, shit, I don't know how to fight with martial weapons at all. This is more of a sword tutorial, fighting one-handed. Shields, I don't really use a shield. That's kind of too much for my brain at the moment. I've kind of exclusively been using sabers. Previously, I was using a Polish Saber, but the mod for that has depreciated, so I had to use this mod instead. The most important feature of this for me is this false edge here, which is very typical of the Polish Hussite swords, if that's the right word. The Zabas, basically. Anyway, so I'm going to just do a couple one-on-ones and just kind of go through what's going through, talk about what's kind of going through my head while I do this. So maybe this will help somebody. I probably could have used Arena, but oh well. I've been playing on Arena all day, so I kind of want to change it up. Alright, so this guy's going for a thrust. Now these thrusts are kind of what get me most of the time. So here's what you want to do. What I like to do, when they're going for a thrust, he's not doing it anymore. Okay, well, he's not thrusting, so I'll talk about it later. Anyway. That's kind of my favorite parry right there. Okay, here we go. Thrust again. When he's going for a thrust, you kind of want to lean your face forward and bend forward, because you have a lot of space to move back. And then there's a couple things you can do about this. So I'm going to show you the one thing that I learned from a Polish YouTube channel. Let's wait for him to bait him out. Oh, nope. Okay. There we go. Give him some incentive to attack, and fucked it up. Thrusts suck, because these guys have, like, no sense of self-preservation. They will go for the thrust even if it means they die. Let me try this again. Come on, girly. So what I tried to do there, basically, was use the spine of my sword to knock theirs away and then go for a slash. I believe that's a position 1 slash. Here we go. She's going for the overhead. Let's see if we can get a Turkish cut on her. Fake and slash. There we go. So I learned that from another guy, I think it was False Edge HEMA, where basically you bait out them swinging at your sword, you kind of just point it at them, and then you moulier into a position 2 cut. That's another one I like. Basically, a lot of what you're going to see me doing is stopping their blade and manipulating it so I can go for a thrust. Because a thrust is probably the easiest way to stop a fight. Like so. And one thing you have to remember, like even if you miss the initial thrust, you still have what is essentially a giant knife. So if you can get that edge anywhere near one of their limbs, you can just go for an easy cut. So what I tried to do there was a little bit different than the first time. See if you'll pick up her sword again. So instead of knocking the blade away, I just redirect her momentum. So essentially, her blade's coming at me, and I have mine angled like this, so we kind of thrust at the same time, except I just lift up, and then go for a stab. Again, stopping the blade. The important thing is closer to your hand is the better, when you stop their blade. Because you have way more strength to manipulate them. You see, I blocked him kind of here. That gives me a lot of, even though he has a shorter blade and technically he should be stronger than I am, because I'm blocking his blade basically here, I have a lot of control over where it goes. You see that? I missed the thrust, but I don't have to hit his body directly. I can just cut along his neck. Remember, this is still a giant knife, basically. See what else we got here. All right, the overhead. Here's something I like to do. Start on the other shoulder. Yeah. See if she'll do it. Remember, if they're not pushing your blade away, you still have a lot to work with. Let's try that thrust again. Oh, you see, it gets me. It's those smaller swords I have a lot of problems with, because they're harder to manipulate. But still, basically, once you have control over the tip of their blade, it's pretty much over. That's something you'll see me do a lot, just kind of moulier to get them to fuck off. Real life people probably won't do this as much, but they tend to overswing and leave themselves really exposed. And they don't really attack very fast. So it's kind of easy for me to take advantage What a lot of sword fighting practitioners or HEMA guys will tell you is kind of the big neck stabs and the chest thrusts aren't really what you want to be going for. See that? I'm not just going to let him stab me. So if he's got his blade at me, and I know he's within my range, I'm just going to manipulate his blade out of the way. It's very simple. I know the other important thing is kind of knowing the own range of your sword, because I can kind of play it fast and loose with these guys, because I know his sword is much shorter than mine. Oh. That guy kind of had me dead to rights there. Another thing I like to do that I learned, well, maybe I didn't learn it from him, but a sword fighting principle that I try to keep in mind, Miyamoto Musashi talks about this in his book, I think Book of Five Rings, where you need to turn every movement of your sword into a cut, even if you're just defending. Like that. So even though I'm blocking, my intent is to block, but once I have control over his blade, I'm going to try to manipulate it in a way where I can still hit his arm. Oh. See that? I messed up. I went here, but because she already committed to a thrust, I can manipulate my blade again. I don't know what your plan was. Why are you walking at me with a big knife? Mine's bigger. That's not a good idea. Even if you get a stab on me, you're putting yourself in so much danger. Let's see if I can get that Polish defense. Oh my lord. The other thing is if you, and you will, this will happen to you inevitably. If somebody is in your face, you're not going for these whole sweeping arm cuts anymore. You kind of have to go for these punches. You know, think of like a flick of the wrist a little bit and punching, like you're boxing almost. And that right there is why you don't overcommit to swings unless you have them dead to rights. Even if you have them dead to rights, if you can kill somebody, or rather, if you can get a hit on somebody with, you know, using a lot less energy, that will always be better. God, I love Turkish cuts. Technically, it wasn't a Turkish cut because I didn't grab their arm, but still. Grabbing people in this game is very finicky, so I don't really do it. We can do it again. Come on, girlie. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, we're not doing it anymore? See that? She's got her sword up like this, ready for a slash. All I have to do is just meet her where her sword is and go for a thrust. That guy, too. Overcommits to a stab. Telegraphs where he's going to put his blade. All I have to do is meet him in the middle. That was fancy. I really hit him, like, right here in his face. That's still probably a pretty debilitating cut. Oh, dropped my sword. That happens a lot. I try not to use magic in this game. Oh! Come on, buddy. You don't want to do that. Here's another fun thing I like to do. Since the sword is a false edge, you can totally just hit him with one of these guys. See if I can do that real quick. See, that alone, in real life, would have been a pretty debilitating cut. Because that hard flick to his hand could have severed basically every tendon in there, and he should have dropped the sword pretty much instantly. Not because of pain tolerance or pain compliance, but literally that sword has decimated all of the potentially the bones in his hand. He literally cannot hold it. It is physically impossible for his body to hold on to it because there's no connections there anymore. Always try to use with your eyes. Always follow the tip of the sword. So, I'm going to try fighting some armored opponents. Let's see here. I think there's a Gentry duel. I'm going to try fighting some armored opponents to kind of show you how I deal with them. It's more or less the same, it's just a lot more effort. So in this game, how it handles damage is basically if you hit armor, it doesn't do no damage, it does a little bit of damage. So how you want to fight guys with armor is basically the same as how you'd want to fight anybody else. You just kind of have to think of it in terms of death by 1,000 paper cuts. Unless, of course, you get a lucky hit on one of the exposed bits, which is generally here, under the arm, especially right here. I think there's some chainmail under there, but if you have a hard enough thrust, you can pierce it. The back of their neck, which, if you're lucky, you can do one of these and just, you know, if they overcommit to a swing, you know, you can just kind of drop your sword and try and flick back there, and that'll hit their neck. I just hit my own neck with my other hand. I was trying to show you, but I just realized you can't. You can do that, and then I think there's some spots below their legs, kind of by their thighs that are exposed as well. Basically, think of all the joints. That's kind of where you want to be aiming. Also, the wrist. I've definitely cut off a lot of hands. You can definitely get through some of the hand armor as well. It's never a bad idea to go for a hand hit. And not like the super overcommitted swing, just a simple wrist, like, you know, because even if they have a sword, and, like, even if they're not overcommitting, it's really easy for you to just kind of wrist slash back up. So let's see if I can show you some of that stuff. Alright. I might have to kill her. I'm sorry, little one. Alright, now they'll spawn. Alright, the axes. These guys are actually surprisingly easy to deal with. I like to make them forget how much range I have. Oh, shit. And that's why you don't do that with axes. I probably would have gotten my hand destroyed doing that. So maybe not overcommit a bit. Maybe kind of... Oh, yeah, there we go. Already getting hit. They have armor. And what I'd imagine in real life is a lot of people would kind of forget that just because you have armor does not mean you can't get hit. So a lot of the times, they will overcommit. I'm going for a lot of thrusts because people are scared of thrusts in real life. As soon as you've knocked somebody off balance, even if they're not wearing armor, that's a pretty it's a pretty good time to just start wailing on them. Here we go. All right, this is a bit more intimidating. Any chance I get, try to slash at him. There we go. Same principles. If I have control over your blade, that's a bad thing. You want to get out of that spot as soon as possible. Remember, they still have eye slits. Now, the chance of you hitting that is pretty low. See? False edge. Boom. Slashed at her neck behind this little net guard here. Turkish cut. Far from impregnable. And remember, a lot of swords have pommels, and if someone ever gets in your face, don't be afraid to just you know. That was kind of a bad hit, but you know what I mean. This is kind of an emergency thing, that or if you're just trying to flex on somebody, you know. It's never a bad idea to try and slice under their arm, too. Oh, there we go. There's another spot. The chainmail on the shoulders. You see, I committed to a big thrust, and I immediately pierced it because I know how much more range I have than he does. He's got an axe. I blocked it with the flat of my sword, which in real life is kind of questionable how much that would have helped me. But at the very least, if he's hitting something in between me, which is his target, it's probably going to throw off his body's aim. Because there's just more stuff to contend with. Air doesn't offer that much resistance compared to, say, a sword, or a hammer, or an axe. The whole point of these guys, generally, unless they really, really expose themselves, is to just whittle them down. All about controlling that blade. You probably could have had me right there. A lot of what I am doing is putting him in a position where he really can't swing at me. See? Even if he tries to go for a backswing, my sword is literally on his. And the other thing, too, you want to remember, when you're blocking somebody, you always want to back up. You want to back up when you block and go forward when you attack. Let's see if we can... Come on. So you got him on the ropes. He's constant. If your opponent is constantly backing up, that's a good sign. You want them to be on the defensive, because if they're on the defensive, their attacks are not going to be anywhere near as effective otherwise. Remember, you have legs. If they get close to you, punch and kick. They're on the ground. This isn't jujitsu. This isn't like jujitsu. You know, you don't go on the ground with them. You just start wailing on them. So I do that, if I know they're going for the double slash, the double position, I fake my own slash, but then when I'm turning around, I keep my sword up in case I'm a little too close to them. Ooh, so you got me. Those thrusts are really the only things that get me. Thrusts are very dangerous. For both people. If this guy wasn't wearing armor, I would have killed him probably 10 times by now. And if you are wearing armor, I would recommend fighting the same way. Not as him, but as me. Just wear armor, obviously, but pretend like you're not wearing armor. You don't want to get hit, because wearing armor lessens the chance of you getting hit. It doesn't mean you're invulnerable. You still have those eye slits. You still have the chainmail parts. That was my bad. You can get away with a lot more with armor, but why get away with a lot more when you can just... See, I keep messing up those thrusts. Oh, man. The biggest thing is practicing these, parrying these thrusts, because this is what's going to get you most of the time. Probably shouldn't have committed to that one. They could have got me pretty easily. See, I always try to keep my blade in front of me, even if I'm going for a slash. That's kind of, this is my reset position. Missed that one. I'm always trying to manipulate their blade. Because if I know where their blade is going, I'm not really worried about what they're going to do with it. Because I have control. She's bleeding a lot. I'm nicking her a little bit. It's all about that death by 1,000 paper cuts. There we go, finally. See how much blood she's got around her neck? Finally, like, hit a jugular or something. Anyway, hope this was helpful. I would recommend actually going on YouTube and looking up sword fighting tutorials. That will definitely help you out a little bit. Just kind of go over the basic positions, you know, diagonal, diagonal, side, side, up diagonal. And then from there, once you've practiced that, you can kind of fake mollets. You can't really do it in the game, but what I do is I mimic the motion of a mollet. It's a good thing to practice, because then if you actually decide to do HEMA... Oh, shit. Also, I try to make a habit of actually going down to pick up my sword instead of using the magic. Because magic is for nerds. I have the range where I can get away with doing that. Problem with me doing that is I'm giving up a lot to go for this. But if I miss, it's not a huge deal. Because I can always back up and then slash away. Especially if they're not wearing armor. Obviously, I'm only doing that because they're wearing armor. there's a million other stabs and combinations of slashes I can do if they're unarmored. Anyway, yeah, see ya.